core values and beliefs are formed by the age of 10, and you of that blueprint. So doing business, whatever is it that you believed about business, you come from an entrepreneurial background. Did you know people who are doing business? What were the statements you had made about business owners? What were the statements you had about money and wealth before you were the age of 10? Because they are buried in your subconscious. And when I say the word sadly, we still believe those things. And how can you override them? He says, obviously, you do pick other things. Another value says you grow. But you have to be conscious of your subconscious in order to change, in order to overwrite it, as opposed to allowing it to just be your default. And it's a default that you don't even understand, so you can't do anything about it. Do you understand? Is it all making sense, Kanani?
Yes, definitely. And you know what really made me kind of giggle inside is what you're sharing is exactly what I've been going through with my daughter, with both kids. And I actually posted it on one of my postings a while back on Facebook that my daughter, we would have our, what you would consider universally drive time in the car. And I usually listen to Jim Rohn in the car. And she started to recognize all of these stories, and she actually would recite them by memory, and that goes for any type of religious, to business, to anything that we do. The more it's embedded and immersed into her, she recites it. And so one day I actually did not have the same CD in my car. And she asked who it was that was talking, and it was a different person. And I told her, no, that's not the person. And she said, well, why not? We should be listening to Jim Rohn. And so, she knows the stories, and she knows all of these different things, and it's because of it being embedded. It's because it's being memorized and recalled at such a young age. And I'm pretty sure she'll remember those stories when she goes into school. She's going to remember a story about a crab trying to crawl up and the other is trying to pull it down,
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard that story before, but that was one of the most graphic stories for my daughter. That she was only 3 years old, and she's listening to, there's a crab in a cage, and how come the other ones want to tear off their legs? And it's all about, understanding the power of association and people bringing you down. And she was starting to relate to it at such a young age. And that happens, and it's because of the psychology of our brain. It's because of our inner workings. And that's really, really cool. I just really had to bring that up because just listening to you talk about that totally flared in my head and made me giggle.
It's absolutely important. I have a son as well as most people who either on Facebook or other platforms will see, because sometimes I do post pictures of us together having fun. And I take him to business events like yourself. We listen to all these great teachers and the great philosophies about life. And people ask, why do you do that? Why would you want to do that to a child? And I say for one reason, because I want their 90% to be right. I don't want them to be trying to get their blueprint changed at a later age, because it's a lot harder, right? So if you teach your child whatever you're going to teach them by the age of 10, you can almost put your hands up and relax, because you know that you created the blueprint. So if you're listening to Jim Rohn, if you're listening to Napoleon Hill, and they're listening to all these things and you think they're not taking it in, they're taking it in. And I say this, right? I've spent tons, and I mean, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on personal development, in understanding myself, in understanding how I relate as a business owner, in terms of how I relate as an entrepreneur to other entrepreneurs, in terms of how I move myself from a day job to being an entrepreneur, to being in charge of my own life and understanding what is it that is working in me, what is it that is stopping me. And it's going back to Kanani, it's those programs that I picked up as a child. And this is why I have come to understand all these things, is because I'm trying to find out the kind of the cycles that I find myself in. It's almost like, why can I not get out of this whole cycle? I just seem to go around and find myself in the same place. And so by my wanting to understand that for myself first and foremost, that I have learned all these things. And by learning that, I then concluded, I don't want my child to go through that. I want him to have a blueprint that says you can do whatever you want to do. You can become whatever you want to be, right? And the future is not a day job. The future is you design your future and where you want to be. The business you want to be in, there are no limitations. It has nothing to do with education. It has nothing to do with how many degrees you have. It has nothing to do with all those things. It has everything to do with your mindset and your attitude. Because we have people like Richard Branson, who is not highly educated, yet he's one of the richest men around that we know. And so many other examples. And Kanani, you talked about Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn. And I love his philosophy of success. And my son and I have listened to so many of Jim Rohn's tapes in the car going to school. And it's very easy to teach a child to accept responsibility, not by scolding them, but by having somebody else put it across as though they were talking to another adult in the most articulate way. And so we would be sitting, so basically he'll mess something up. And now I would say to him, Kalani, you probably know this, I would say to him, so what would Jim Rohn say? And he'd look at me and say, you messed up. You know that one? Where he says you messed up. And he's learning to take responsibility for where he's messed up and correcting it instead of trying to find excuses or in terms of thinking, oh, mommy, you told me this. And as adults, we need to, when we're doing business and when we're looking to attract ideal clients, we need to understand what program is running. And it's time for a little break. And we'll be right back. Don't go away. Kanani and I will be right back. And I'm this so out. It is time to monetize your big idea. Join us on the 29th to the 31st of August in Hollywood. Become a leader in your category. Change the rules of the game. Change your struggles into confidence, your abilities into possibilities, your challenges into opportunities. Change the things you don't like. All you need is within you. It is time to monetize your big idea. Connect with your ideal clients, attract media attention, share your passion, speak on stage, walk the red carpet on the 29th to the 31st of August in Hollywood. Be the masterpiece. Get your ticket today at www.SpeakonRadio.com. Be seen, be heard, be present. Welcome back. We're talking about business world, attracting ideal clients, and it's about who you need to become. And we've covered loads of things, from attracting the ideal client on social media, attracting them in a networking event, and about who you become. What is it that makes you attract that client? What is it that makes you a people magnet, that people come looking for you? As Marina would put it, what makes you, changes you from seeking after to becoming the opportunity? What is it that happens? And before we took a break, we were talking about Kanani brought this up, this whole thing of like basically programs that we run